You ever been so frustrated with a computer problem you do almost anything to fix it? Well, what if the fix you're offered is the problem? Today we're taking a look at a really clever malware campaign that does exactly that. It weaponizes your frustration to turn your attempt to fix your browser into the infection itself.
Now, before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to the team at Huntress. This entire breakdown is based on their fantastic research, which they published in their article, Dissecting CrashFix, KongTuke's New Toy. All the credit for this deep dive really goes to their amazing work.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the trap itself, the deceptive fix. Then we'll put on our detective hats and dissect the malicious browser extension. After that, we'll follow the PowerShell chain of command, see how the attackers deploy two totally different payloads, and, of course, wrap it all up with how you can stay safe.
Okay, let's kick things off with part 1, the deceptive fix. This is all about the social engineering, the anatomy of what is really a perfect trap.
You know, it all starts with something we can all relate to, getting absolutely bombarded with ads. The victim in this story was just fed up and wanted them gone. So what did they do? The same thing most of us would do. They searched online for an ad blocker. And, well, that's exactly what the attackers were waiting for.
This is just a brilliant 4-step trap. First, the user looks for an ad blocker. They find and install this thing called NexShield. Then, and this is the key part, the extension intentionally crashes their browser. It creates the problem. Why? So it can then offer the solution, a fake fix, that tricks the user into running the real malware.
So, what's actually going on inside this malicious extension? That brings us to part 2, where we're going to dissect NexShield and find the imposter hiding right there in the browser.
So here's the thing. NexShield wasn't built from scratch. It's actually a nearly perfect clone of a very popular, very legitimate extension called uBlock Origin Lite. All the files look the same except for one, background.js. And in the malicious version, that file is just 3,276 bytes bigger. A tiny, tiny difference, but that's where all the poison is hidden.
Now, this is super clever. To avoid getting caught right away, the malware uses a tactic called delayed execution. It actually uses Chrome's own Alarms API to just sit there and do nothing for a full 60 minutes. Think about it. By the time your browser starts acting up an hour later, you've probably completely forgotten about that new extension you installed.
So how does it actually crash a modern browser? Sheer brute force. The code kicks off an infinite loop that tries to create 1 billion Chrome.runtime port connections. It's basically a denial of service attack against your own computer, designed to eat up every last resource and force a total crash.
Okay, so the browser has crashed, the frustrated user restarts it, and wouldn't you know it, a hopeful little pop-up appears offering a fix. This leads us to part 3, the PowerShell infection chain, and the one command you should never, ever run.
So the user is told to open the run dialog and paste in this long, scary-looking command to fix everything. The malware, by the way, has already sneakily copied this to their clipboard. For a non-technical user who just wants their browser to work again, they might not think twice before hitting enter.
Let's break down what this mess of a command actually does. First, it copies finger.exe, which is a legitimate but really old Windows program. It then renames it to crt.exe to hide what it's doing. This is a classic living off the land or LOLBin attack, using Windows' own tools against itself. Then it uses this rename tool to call out to the attacker's server. And the final brutal step, it takes whatever the server sends back and pipes it directly into the command line to be executed, no questions asked.
And once that connection is made, the attack gets personal. This is where the story takes a fascinating turn. Welcome to part 4, a tale of two payloads. This is where the attacker, known as KongTuke, decides if you're a high-value corporate target or just a regular home user.
And this slide says it all, doesn't it? If the malware detects it's on a corporate machine that's joined to a domain, you get the VIP treatment, a pretty sophisticated backdoor called ModeloRAT. But if you're on a standalone home PC, the server literally sends back the message, test payload. It's pretty clear who KongTuke is saving the good stuff for.
So this ModeloRAT, it's no joke. It is a full-featured remote access Trojan written in Python. And it's built for one thing, corporate espionage. All of its communication back to its command and control servers, which you can see here at 170.168.103.208 and 158.247.252.178, is hidden behind RC4 encryption.
And just look at the level of control this gives the attackers. I mean, they can drop and run any executable DLL or Python script they want. They can run any PowerShell command they can dream up. They have complete control over the system. And when they're finished, Type ID 7 lets them just clean up and exit quietly.
Of course, it wants to stick around even after a reboot. So, to achieve persistence, ModeloRAT writes itself into the HKCU Software, Microsoft, Windows, Current Version, Run registry key. And it uses a really neat trick to blend in, naming itself things like Spotify 47 or Adobe 2841. It's trying its best to look like just another harmless program.
Now, for the home users, the ones who get the test payload, the malware uses something called a domain generation algorithm, or DGA. This is a way for it to create a whole new list of command and control domains every single week. It's like a spy with a new safe house every few days. You find in block 1, but it's already moved on to the next.
But before any payload gets delivered, the malware does this extensive background check on the computer it's on. It's looking for virtual machines, for debuggers, for any sign of a security researcher. It adds up a fingerprint score. A normal, clean machine might score around 6.8 billion, but a researcher sandbox, that could be over 200 billion. If the score is too high, the server just sends nothing at all, staying completely hidden from analysis.
So we've seen the whole attack chain, from the lure to the payload. It's pretty scary stuff. Let's wrap it all up with the most important part: how to stay safe, and the key takeaways for anyone trying to defend a network.
So what can you actually do? Well, here are the big ones. First, keep an eye out for any use of finger.exe. It's an ancient tool. Nobody should be using it legitimately today. Second, be super critical of browser extensions and what permissions they're asking for. Also, watch those run keys in a registry for weird entries trying to look like real software. And finally, monitor your network for those known C2 IPs or for traffic that looks like it's being generated by a DGA.
And at the end of the day, this whole thing leaves us with one really important question to think about. When you're frustrated, when your tech fails you, and you're offered a quick and easy fix, you really have to stop and ask yourself, is the cure they're offering actually way, way worse than the disease?
Hey, if you found this deep dive useful, please give it a like and subscribe for more breakdowns of the latest threats. It really does help us keep making these for you.